Nuestra Familia is one of the most structured and violent prison gangs in California, originating in 1965 at the correctional facility in Soledad with a strict chain of command. Formed by Mexican-American inmates from Northern California to protect themselves from the Mexican Mafia. In 1968, at Dual Vocational Institute, a rivalry started when a Mexican Mafia member stole a Northerner's shoes. This incident ignited the longest-running gang war in California. Nuestra Familia is strongly tied to the Norteño gang and controls the criminal activity of thousands of their members. It operates inside and outside prison, making money primarily through narcotics distribution and extortion. Over the last 50 years, the gang has been tied to at least 600 murders, often targeting its own members. The gang's symbols include a sombrero with a dagger and the number 14, representing the letter N. The Norteños, who are aligned with Nuestra Familia, use the color red. Their rivals, the Sureños, wear blue. The gang also uses the Aztec language Nahuatl for covert communication. Blood loyalty is key. Members must commit crimes to join, and leaving means death. Their written code forbids prioritizing women, money, or drugs over the gang, and women can't be full members. Enemies include the Mexican Mafia, the Texas Syndicate, and the Aryan Brotherhood. Primeiro Comando da Capital is Brazil's most powerful and largest prison gang, known for being Latin America's biggest drug cartel. Founded in 1993 by 8 prisoners in Sao Paulo, the PCC emerged to fight the oppressive conditions within the Sao Paulo prison system and avenge the 111 prisoners that perished during the Carandiru massacre. The group uses the slogan "Peace, Justice and Freedom" and the Chinese Taijitu symbol as their emblem. With around 40,000 lifetime members and 60,000 contractors, the PCC is deeply involved in drug trafficking with a yearly revenue of at least $1 billion. Its operations have expanded globally, working with groups like Italy's 'Ndrangheta and Lebanese Hezbollah, while controlling Brazil's drug exports to Europe and West Africa. The PCC is notorious for its crimes, including murders, prison riots, robberies, protection rackets, and kidnappings. They gained attention in 2001 when leader Sombra orchestrated simultaneous uprisings across 29 Sao Paulo state prisons. While the PCC has a more calculated, business-like approach compared to other cartels avoiding turf wars, it has nonetheless been responsible for waves of brutal violence and terrorism. As of 2023, the PCC is transitioning into a global mafia, infiltrating legal economies and even influencing politics. The Numbers Gang is one of South Africa's most feared criminal organizations, believed to control much of the country's prison system with thousands of members. Dating back to the late 1800s, it was formed to protect black mine workers, though its exact origins are murky. The gang is divided into 3 factions, each with a distinct role. The 26s bring in the money, the 27s enforce gang law, and the 28s serve as the warriors. Within the 28s, proving one's manhood is crucial. Advancement requires stabbing or killing rivals, prison guards, or even fellow members who step out of line. Those who fail to move up in the ranks are labeled as women and subjected to sexual abuse. The gang is notorious for its extreme violence, especially against prison guards. At Pollsmoor Prison, nearly half of all warders have been stabbed or cut. The Numbers Gang has also developed a chilling culture around the use of knives. They have 2 types, the short knife for punishment and the long knife for executions. The internal structure is strict. Members follow their own religion and language and go through forced education. Violations of gang rules trigger trials, often resulting in death. John Mongrel, leader of the 28s at Pollsmoor Prison, is responsible for up to 1,000 fatalities, at least according to some rumors. The gang's influence spreads as inmates are transferred between prisons, upholding their culture of violence and extortion. The Texas Syndicate is a Mexican-American prison gang founded in 1978 at Folsom State Prison, California, to protect Texas inmates from groups like the Aryan Brotherhood and Mexican Mafia. Initially, the TS allied with Nuestra Familia and some Maravilla gangs, but over time, its Southern California members leaned towards Sureños, while those in the north aligned with Norteños. Though smaller than other prison gangs, the TS gained a reputation for extreme violence. It remains active in California, Texas, Louisiana, Florida, and other federal prisons across the US. TS focuses on drug trafficking, extortion, prostitution, and contract killings. Released members must pay 10% of their earnings to the gang. TS has close ties to the Gulf Cartel and has carried out contract killings for Los Zetas. The gang operates with a strict paramilitary structure, electing a president with local leadership overseeing individual prison units. Members must be Texan, stay loyal for life, and wear the TS tattoo. Major enemies include the Aryan Brotherhood, Nuestra Familia, Mexican Mafia, and the Mexikanemi. The Mexikanemi, aka the Texas Mexican Mafia, was founded in 1984 inside Texas prisons. It was formed as a rival to the Texas Syndicate, leading to an 8-year war that resulted in over 80 deaths before a truce in 1990. It operates independently from the original California Mexican Mafia and identifies with Aztlan, the former Mexican territories in the US. The gang follows a strict hierarchy with a president and ranks down to soldiers. Recruitment requires a democratic vote and approval from lieutenants, and members must be of Mexican descent. Mexikanemi makes money through drug and human trafficking, extortion, and murder. A key revenue source is the dime, a strictly enforced rule that taxes all illicit activities in their territory at 10%, even by non-members. Tattoos often include variants of their gang name and nods to the Mexican Mafia, the number 13, and symbols like eagles and serpents, referencing Mexican heritage. Allies include the Gulf Cartel, Juarez Cartel, Mexican Mafia, and Los Zetas. Rivals are Nuestra Familia and the Texas Syndicate. The Ñetas started in Puerto Rico's prison system in 1979 and later spread to the US. Initially formed for inmate protection, they clashed with the Grupo 27 gang. After their leader was murdered in 1981, the Ñetas retaliated. Using spoons and their hands to dig, Ñeta members broke into the cell of the G27 leader and dismembered him. By 1984, their numbers grew so large that authorities had to separate them from rival gangs in prisons. The gang has a reputation for secrecy and a structured hierarchy, including a president and other leadership roles elected by members. Ñetas have around 13,000 members, with most in Puerto Rico's prisons and others in the US, spread across 9 states. Their activities include drug trafficking, drive-by shooting, extortion, home invasions, and weapons smuggling. Rivals depend on location but often include United Blood Nation, Crips, MS-13, and Latin Kings. Barrio Azteca, or Los Aztecas, started in the early 1980s in Texas Cofield Unit Prison, founded by Jose Rivera from El Paso. It grew into a violent transnational gang operating across the US-Mexico border, with over 3,000 members in the US and at least 5,000 in Juarez. The gang follows a militaristic hierarchy with captains, lieutenants, and foot soldiers, enforcing territorial control and making money through drug trafficking, extortion, and murder. They also engage in kidnapping, arson, and even placing bounties of up to $200,000 on US law enforcement officials. Members have figured out how to take advantage of both the Mexican and United States legal systems to commit their crimes. They also use coded letters, contraband phones, and a Nahuatl-based secret language to evade law enforcement. Tattoos like the letters BA, the number 21, or references to Aztec culture identify members. In 2008, Barrio Azteca allied with La Linea, the armed wing of the Juarez cartel, to fight the Sinaloa cartel over drug routes. A prison brawl in 2009 between Barrio Azteca and Sinaloa-affiliated gangs killed 20 inmates. Even though many high-profile members were arrested in the last years, the gang remains active. The Mexican Mafia, or La M, is the most powerful prison gang in California, controlling crime inside and outside prison walls. It started in 1957 at Dual Vocational Institution when 13 Hispanic gang members united for protection. Over time, they sought to unify all Mexican-American gangs, but ended up in a bitter rivalry with Nuestra Familia. La M operates through extreme violence, enforcing loyalty with murder and running drug operations by taxing dealers. Members who snitch, refuse orders, commit acts of homosexuality, or disrespect the gang face death. The group has up to 500 official members, thousands of prison enforcers, and over 50,000 street-level soldiers. They use symbols like the Black Hand and eagles or snakes in tattoos, while allied gangs identify with the number 13. They have a strong influence on all Hispanic street gangs in Southern California, including MS-13, Barrio 18, and the Sureños, while maintaining an alliance with the Aryan Brotherhood against common enemies. Tren de Aragua started in Venezuela's Tocoron prison in 2014 and has since grown into one of Latin America's most dangerous gangs while spreading into the US. Unlike many gangs, they avoid tattoos, making it harder to identify members. They focus on human trafficking, arms smuggling, kidnapping, and money laundering. They've built alliances with Brazil's PCC, Colombia's La Empresa, and the Juarez cartel. They are allegedly connected to the assassination of a former Venezuelan army officer in 2024, as well as shootings of police officers in New York and Florida. In 2023, Venezuelan forces took Tocoron prison, their headquarters, where they ran a zoo and a nightclub. But the leadership escaped and the gang remains active. Their crimes have made them a top priority for law enforcement across multiple countries, and in 2025, President Trump labeled them a terrorist organization. The Trinitarios are a Dominican-American gang that started in 1993 on Rikers Island, New York, founded by two Dominicans looking to protect fellow Hispanics from other prison gangs. They are named after three revolutionaries from the Dominican War of Independence. Their activities focus on drug trafficking, robbery, and murder. Despite a major crackdown in 2009 that took down much of their leadership, including their co-founder Sierra, the gang not only survived but became New York's fastest growing. Now with an estimated 30,000 members worldwide, including in Spain and the Dominican Republic, the Trinitarios continue to expand. Highly structured and known for extreme violence, they recruit in schools, issue a rule book to new members, and swear them in with an oath. Their weapon of choice is the machete. The Black Guerilla family is an African-American prison gang founded in 1966 at San Quentin State Prison, California by George Jackson, with ex-Black Panther member Huey Newton as a co-founder. Initially established as a Marxist-Leninist revolutionary group, the BGF aimed to promote black nationalism, maintain dignity in prison, and ultimately overthrow the US government. Over time, it evolved into a structured criminal organization known for drug trafficking, burglary, and homicide. Entry into the BGF requires sponsorship and a screening process. Once accepted, members must take a lifelong death oath of loyalty. The gang is infamous for being extremely violent toward correctional officers and is thought to absorb Crip members into its ranks upon their incarceration. Identifying tattoos include cross sabers, machetes, and shotguns, often combined with the letters BGF or 276 or a black dragon symbol. The gang is allied with the Black Disciples, Bloods, Crips, and Nuestra Familia, while their major rivals are the Aryan Brotherhood, Mexican Mafia, and the Texas Syndicate. While official membership is estimated at around 300, they have thousands of associates operating both inside and outside of prisons. The Fresno Bulldogs are one of the largest drug gangs in Central California, primarily consisting of Mexican Americans. Their origins trace back to the 70s, but they became independent in the 80s after breaking away from the Norteños during the violent Red Wave prison war. Once known as F-14ers, they adopted the Bulldog name along with Fresno State University's Bulldog mascot, paw prints, and even team apparel as part of their identity. Members use barking as a call sign and refer to each other as dog. What makes them unique is their complete lack of allies. They are the largest Hispanic gang in California, unaffiliated with either Sureños or Norteños, and have been in constant conflict with both, as well as other prison gangs. They are also known for infighting among different sets and have participated in over 32 violent clashes in California prisons between 2018 and 19, earning them a reputation as one of the most dangerous security threats. Some of these fights have escalated into full-scale prison riots dubbed gladiator fights. The Bulldogs are deeply involved in street-level drug trade and other criminal activities. Law enforcement tries to shut them down with major operations like 2006's Operation Magic, leading to thousands of arrests. However, their decentralized structure makes them difficult to suppress, and they continue their influence in Fresno and beyond. Brödraskapet Sweden, or the Brotherhood, is Sweden's most notorious prison gang, founded in 1995 inside the maximum security Kumla prison. They have no political motives. The only common thread is crime, and its members include individuals from various backgrounds. The gang emerged as a response to stricter prison policies that eliminated early parole, leading to rising tensions between inmates and guards. After a 1994 riot at Tidaholm prison, some of the most violent prisoners banded together under the leadership of Danny Fitzpatrick. The gang recruited Sweden's most hardened criminals, including murderers, armed robbers, and drug traffickers, requiring members to serve time in high-security prisons. When authorities attempted to break up the group by placing members in solitary and transferring them to different prisons, it backfired, spreading the gang's influence across the Swedish prison system. By 1996, Brödraskapet had up to 90 members and a strong grip on prison drug trade and violence, with several murders inside Kumla and Tidaholm linked to them. They also expanded outside of prison in 1995 and established new chapters in Göteborg and along Sweden's west coast. Internal conflicts turned deadly in 2001 when a paroled member disappeared, likely murdered, and the gang purged several members. Brödraskapet engages in drug and arms trafficking, abduction, extortion, armed robbery, and murder, in and outside of prisons. Despite crackdowns, their violent reputation remains intact, and the gang continues to adapt and recruit new members. The Aryan Brotherhood is a neo-Nazi crime syndicate operating both behind bars and on the streets, with an estimated 15,000 to 20,000 exclusively white male members. It started in 1964 at San Quentin State Prison, possibly founded by Irish bikers in response to the racial desegregation of prisons and the rise of groups like the Black Guerrilla family. This led to a full-scale race war in 1975, forcing California officials to segregate gangs into different prisons. Over time, the Aryan Brotherhood evolved from race-based violence into full-blown organized crime, focusing on drug trafficking, murder for hire, and prostitution. By the 1990s, they had more influence inside US prisons than even the American Mafia. Joining isn't easy. Prospects need to survive a year of probation, swear a lifelong blood oath, and commit murder to join. While they uphold white supremacist ideals, their real loyalty is to money. They work with the Mexican Mafia and have ties to the American Mafia and Hells Angels. Meanwhile, their Nazi lowrider offshoot handles most of their lower-level operations. With rivals like the Black Guerrilla family, Bloods, Crips, and Nuestra Familia, the Aryan Brotherhood makes up just 1% of the US prison population, but is responsible for about 20% of all prison murders. Comando Vermelho, or the Red Command, is one of Brazil's most notorious criminal organizations, engaged in drug and arms trafficking, racketeering, kidnapping, murder, and all-out turf wars, especially against its main rival, the PCC. It emerged in the early 70s from an alliance between common criminals and leftist guerrillas who were imprisoned together. It was a survival pact to protect each other from prison brutality, But in the 80s, the group expanded beyond prison walls into Rio de Janeiro's favelas, diving into the booming drug trade. By 1985, the Red Command controlled up to 70% of Rio's drug market and had strong ties with Colombian cartels. However, its decentralized leadership led to internal conflicts, giving rise to rival groups like Terceiro Comando and Amigos dos Amigos. These feuds, along with constant clashes with the state, turned Rio into a battleground, fueling an ongoing surge in violence. On top of that, by 2016, an old truce with the PCC collapsed, reigniting a brutal war. The CV remains Brazil's second largest criminal organization, with an estimated 30,000 members. Tango Blast is a loose affiliation of Hispanic street and prison gangs from major Texas cities like Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Austin. Formed in the 80s with roots dating back to the 70s, Tango Blast members banded together for protection against other gangs like the Mexikanemi and the Texas Syndicate. They are known for drug trafficking and violence in Texas cities and have an estimated 15,000 members. Unlike traditional prison gangs, Tango Blast doesn't have a strict hierarchy or central leadership. It operates with a loose structure where membership is based on regional groups called a tango. The gang uses local symbols such as the Houston Texans logo or area codes to identify members. They also use a democratic voting system, and members don't need to follow orders or pay dues. They also don't require participation in gang activities when outside of prison. One of their initiation rituals involves a prospect fighting multiple gang members to prove their toughness. While they don't follow the rules of gangs like MS-13, their aggressive and militant discipline has earned them the classification as a Tier 1 security threat group. The Vice Lords are an African-American street and prison gang that originated in 1957 at the St. Charles Juvenile Facility in Chicago, led by Edwin Perry. Once released, the Vice Lords quickly expanded, clashing with other neighborhood gangs and gaining a reputation for theft, murder, and extortion. In an attempt to clean up their public image, one of their leaders rebranded the gang as the Conservative Vice Lords, even engaging in some community programs. But behind the scenes, they were still running their usual criminal enterprises while absorbing smaller gangs to grow even larger. Throughout the years, the Vice Lords have diversified their operations, moving from street crime and extortion to mortgage and credit card fraud. They have around 30,000 members across 28 states. Their signature symbols include a rabbit wearing a bow tie and a red and gold 5-point star. They are allied with the Bloods and Latin Kings, but have a rivalry with the Gangster Disciples and Crips.